Well, hello, folks. Are you wondering what the top 3 strategy games on Stalingrad are? Well, make sure to stick around for the rest of the video. I would ask that you also please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications for future videos. Now, the first one we're taking a look at is probably one you've never heard before. In my opinion, it might be the best of the 3 and the most unique of the 3 without a shadow of a doubt, and that is Cauldrons of War Stalingrad. And it's very simple. Just when you get to the front screen, do you want to play as the Germans or the Soviets? In this case, we will play as the Germans here. And you can see there are a number of different scenarios, including the early stages of the Battle of Stalingrad, as well as other campaigns like Operation Uranus by the Soviets. In this case, of course, we will be focusing on Stalingrad. And you could see that this particular game has company-scale battles, but it also has army-scale battles, so very, very large battles, or very, very short ones. In this case, we're going to be focusing on the fall of Stalingrad. And you can actually select your green buttons for historical choices. So it'll let you know what the generals did during the battle itself. But now we're going to be jumping in as the Germans. And actually, there's a little developers note here. Cool. Okay, here we go, guys. And again, the goal here is to try and push towards the center of the city and try and, of course, get a victory. We get to, of course, decide what to do. It's not really story-based, but there's definitely story elements, which I really love. So I'm going to try to rush towards the Volga. And you can see we gain an additional 3 command points, but there's going to be negatives as well. So here we go. One really cool element here I love of the game, it just shows us every single part of the city of Stalingrad, the good old railroad station, everybody's seen that, the Krutov Gully, etc. And it shows our positions as well as, of course, enemy positions. Now, as you can see, all of those red flags, it's going to indicate, of course, Soviet worker housing, and we can actually start shelling that area. Let's do that, and we can actually get reports about how our shelling did. You also get a little bit of a detailed explanation of what happened, of course. So we actually set massive fires in the area of the refinery and Krutov Gully. So things are off to an interesting start, to say the least. Now I'm going to push through with some of these divisions. So we're actually going to take these HQ divisions, and we are going to try and assault this area. And once again, there's an explanation of everything that occurs, and also a visual explanation. And we can see here that we've damaged quite a few of the enemy infantry here. Just really, really cool, and a lot of detail, of course. And of course, the goal in this particular scenario, like I said, is to take over the city of Stalingrad. So we're going to actually send some guys in to attack the school. Again, I'm going to take 7th Division HQ, and we're going to go to Komsomol Park very, very soon here. And once again, we have managed to push the enemy back, and German dive bombers are actually supporting us on this push. So you're going to have a bunch of different choices once you get into the city. And obviously, the deeper into the city you get, the more challenging, getting resources, supplies, things like that becomes. You kind of have to prepare for that. Let's get into the gully here. And again, another assault. And we can actually add some tanks here, add some sappers, but this is all going to cost us points overall. However, I think it's going to be quite helpful just in that initial push. Once again, let's do some shelling here in the Guli Junction area. But essentially, you approach this however you see fit. You can click up here to see just how many units your HQs have, and from those HQs, what blocks they are actually in, what blocks or units are in. Obviously, if we were to give a full explanation of the game, that would take a lot longer, but there's a lot here. There really is. And like I said, the deeper into the city you get, the tougher things get, the tougher the choices you have to make are. But I would definitely recommend Cauldrons of War Stalingrad as one of the 3 Stalingrad strategy games. This is just a fantastic game, and like I said, I don't really know of any other games like this. I just really like what they've done here. And again, we're doing another assault, intense covering fire hitting the defenders, and we completely obliterated those defenders. Oh, wait, Sukanaguli North may be the one place we didn't actually get through. Let's push through, and the assault has been repulsed. So that goes to show you that even in this early stage of the battle, there are still some pretty tough Soviet units. All right, let's look at the next one. Now, this next one is an old school game, without a shadow of a doubt. The original, Stalingrad. Of course, here, this is a real-time strategy game. It's definitely older, for sure. Some of you may love it. Some of you may hate it. There are two campaigns, the Axis and the Red Army campaign, of course. We're going to jump into the Axis campaign just to see the offensive, how it's explained. And as you can see here, there's a very well detailed chapter. This is actually, once again, the outskirts of Stalingrad, just like the previous game. And once we break through the outskirts, then and only then can we get into the center of the city and really start the battle. And here we go. There are historical videos. I really love that. Also, what do you guys think about the music? Let me know in the comments. I like it, but I'm old school. So again, in this particular battle, we were just going to go ahead and jump right in. Kutorpronian, I believe, is the area here. And the goal is basically to get across the river over here. If we get across the river, we can do quite a bit of damage to the Soviets. Pretty standard in terms of movement in this game. You might see that things are a little bit laggy or whatever it is. This is not the case when you actually play the game. It's just because I'm recording it, and for whatever reason, it gets really weird when you record. As you can see, you can even increase the texture quality. You can do anything in terms of FPS limiters, for instance. So we could actually put this, let's see if this improves things for our recording. Let's put it up to 40. It's going to be tough for this to keep up with. But once again, we grab some units, we go for an attack, and we hope for the best. You're going to see the Russians are going to be waiting for us, the Soviets, I should say. And once again, they begin opening up. Really good detail, though, for a game this old school. We're going to just try to get to the edge of the woods, and actually we'd be more effective going over here. Good shooting, boys. Now, again, you've got both a German and a Soviet campaign. They're both action-packed, and they both start out kind of simple, but get progressively more complicated. We can actually see those Bren carriers over there thanks to Lend-Lease. And there's also a component of infantry combat in this game. A lot like Sudden Strike, you could see your infantry units there. I will admit, they die quickly in this game, and I mean really, really quickly. In fact, we're going to abandon these trucks. Now, in this particular mission, you're supposed to actually take this position back here, the town, but I wouldn't go across the bridge for obvious reasons. So you sort of have to come up with new ways to approach certain missions. Like right here, over by this small Orthodox church, I'm spotting a lot of other Soviet units. And sure enough, I think there's a road that will lead us all the way around to the very back of that town, let's say. Right now, we're just going to open fire, kind of supporting fire here, and try to kill as many of the Soviet troops as possible. But however you wish to approach the game is up to you. That's the beauty of it. You can fortify buildings. You can call in artillery strikes, airstrikes later in the game. But of course, when you start off, it's pretty straightforward. Just tanks on infantry or tanks on tanks. And of course, some pretty basic mission objectives. But I couldn't ignore this one because number one, it's a good game. Number two, it's kind of one of the first in this particular genre. Now, I think number 3 is going to be a little bit of a surprise, and primarily because this game isn't exclusively on the Battle of Stalingrad, but it does such a great job at representing the Battle of Stalingrad in one of its many campaigns within the game, and that is Gary Grigsby's War in the East 2. Now, we actually have already skipped one turn. You can, of course, play as the Soviets or the Germans, but you get exclusive information about units within Stalingrad. As you can see, we even have commanders like Hube Hans and, of course, Paulus, General Paulus, right there in the center. And as you can see, you can sort of detect just how difficult the situation is for the Germans in this scenario. I mean, it's tough. Now, of course, you can maybe change history and somehow turn the tide of war. We'll actually zoom out a bit just so you can see how much of the front you control. You do have some Romanian units there in the south. Maybe they can reach the embattled soldiers in Stalingrad, but it's not going to be an easy fight. And even if we try to break out from here, it's not exactly going to work well. In fact, we can't even attack. That's how bad things are. We cannot counterattack given our current circumstances, which is pretty amazing, to say the least. We're going to go ahead and see if we can actually move some of these tanks. And let's do that. I want to try and get one attack in. It's not going to be a successful one, but I'm just going to show you how desperate the situation is here. So let's go for it. Right across the river there. And as you can see, the defending forces held. We lost 171 men, a field gun, 3 planes in the attack. The enemy, of course, 51 planes. They lost a lot of planes in that attack, but 16 men and 7 bombers as well. So we did manage to hurt their Air Force, the Soviet Air Force, but this is, as you can see, a pretty damn tough scenario. Now we're going to go for a massive push. And I actually thought we were going to break through there. We managed to take out 351 men. Again, we're doing major damage to the Soviet Air Force. But look at that, guys, 1,119. And as you can see, every single unit from the actual battle is represented, including Croatian infantry. I didn't even know Croatians were involved in the Battle of Stalingrad. I knew there were, of course, some Romanian units, which are well represented here in this particular game. But I wasn't sure about Croatia. Maybe one more attack, right, guys? Can't hurt. Let's go for it. And I mean, I can see just how frustrated the troops within Stalingrad would feel. We see the river there, of course, and we see back here, there is an enemy HQ right there. You know, it's just right there, but the men can't reach it because they are completely cut off from supply. And that's where you have an opportunity over here. It's not a lost cause, to sort of change things around and maybe, just maybe, break through the enemy lines. Maybe we'll take that Romanian unit to assist. Actually, sorry, this is an Italian unit. Here we go. And look at that. We did manage to force a retreat, but it was at the loss of a lot of men. Anyway, I just think this one is quite detailed, this particular game. And of course, if you want a proper strategic representation of the battle, I would definitely recommend it. Again, you can play as either side. You don't have to play as the Germans. You could play as the Soviets in this same campaign, which is called Stalingrad to Berlin within War in the East 2.